I met a gentleman, and one of the things, a Groton Democrat, lives right here in Mystic, Groton side, and getting to know him, one of the things he said is he's been volunteering on the ground in Ukraine. And I thought, oh my gosh, wouldn't he be great to have come and be a speaker here at a DTC meeting? He's happy to do that. His name is Bob Spang. I'll let him tell you more about himself. And we have Peter Roper, Terry Roper from the TV station, local public access here, videoing this presentation so they can hopefully put it on TV. But Bob, come on over, introduce yourself.
All right. Bob Spang from Mystic, Connecticut, right around the corner. And thank you, Natalie, for having me tonight. And I'd like to talk to you about what I've been doing in Ukraine for the past couple of years. I started off in Poland. I've been to Poland twice regarding Ukrainian relief, and to Ukraine on three different occasions. And just a little bit about the war history. About 200 to 300 Ukrainian casualties a day, about 700 to 1,100 Russian casualties a day, and about 1 million Russian casualties since the beginning of the war. And the Ukrainian population is about 39 million right now, and that includes 12 million within the country, 12.7 million who need humanitarian aid. It also includes 3.7 million people who are displaced within the country, who've had to evacuate their homes, mostly in the east. And then on top of that, there's 600 million refugees outside of Ukraine who've completely left the country, most residing in Poland right now. The first experience I had volunteering was with an organization called All Hands and Hearts, located in located in Massachusetts. And they were formed in 2017 to respond to worldwide disasters. And that's our little house there that about 15 volunteers of us stayed in. Over on the left, during this, they were there for probably about a year or so with these relief efforts, and that's the dormitory that we set up and the volunteers stayed in. And during that time, during my time there, which was about 2 weeks, we renovated a space in Krakow for displaced individuals as sort of a transitional housing where they could stay for a few days to a week before moving on to more permanent housing. So we renovated that space, brought it right down to the studs, and then over to the right is some of the people that I worked with, other volunteers in the group too. Again in Krakow with All Hands and Hearts. Another thing we did besides the renovation work, we worked in the soup kitchen on the left there, the Ukrainians lining up every morning for meals. And that's me in the middle, we organizing the bread that we passed out along with other food. We also organized a local warehouse across the street that got daily donations of food.
Where did the food donations come from, Bob?
Well, all over, I'm not exactly sure, but most fairly local within Krakow.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And then, again, a picture of a warehouse, another volunteer I worked with from Sweden. And then that's a truck that we loaded in Krakow with supplies going to Ukraine, mostly for infants, strollers, playpens, diapers, blankets, and so forth. And then, after 2 weeks there, I went back in 2024, but this time instead of Poland, to a town in the west of Ukraine called Usarad, a population of about 117,000, but it ballooned maybe even twice with all the displaced people coming in from the east. So we spent a lot of time renovating the university there for the IDPs, internally displaced people, for transitional housing. Again, they'd stay there maybe for a few days to a couple of weeks before they moved on to more permanent housing. So we painted, we did all sorts of work, as you can see on the left and the right there. And in the middle is our group of volunteers. A lot from the UK, a couple from the US. And this is Usarad, the castle that was built in the town there between the 13th and 17th centuries. And that gentleman to my left, he was a maintenance guy there. I got in a conversation with him. And he spent at least a half an hour with me going through all the history and so forth. And what we also did there was English engagement classes. A lot of the Ukrainians wanted to learn more English to help them get a job and so forth. And we worked with kids and teenagers as well as the adults. And this is just a little video on that effort here. Just helping them with the alphabet. All right, and then after that, I was there for about 2 weeks, and then in 2000, just this past December, I went to back to Poland, and I worked on the border where most of the refugees were crossing from Ukraine, right on the border of Poland and Ukraine. And this, it was a shelter that was started by a local guy in 2022 to house refugees, again, just passing through to more permanent housing. There were 20 beds there, and we also provided 3 meals a day, too. And that's the warehouse in the building there, which we organized a lot of donated clothes and food and so forth. And just one of my coworkers on the background there, a guy by the name of Dennis, he was actually from Russia, and he fled the country. He was an opposition leader along with Alexei Navalny, which you probably know of, who's pictured on the front there, and his wife is to the right. But anyway, Dennis is working with us there, and he can't go back to Russia. He's facing 25 years of imprisonment just for helping out Navalny, being an opposition leader there. And then during that same period, I went into Ukraine. I took a very rickety bus from the border into Lviv there. I think it was one of the Russian air buses, but I don't know how we made it, but we did. And did a few things there, worked in the kitchen. They had a local kitchen that prepared dehydrated, packaged, and sent food to the front line where the Ukrainian military didn't have any equipment to cook with. So they just were able to pour hot water into these little packages. They were sort of like this, where you just pour hot water, one cup of hot water, and you'd have yourself breakfast or a meal or dessert. And I also worked with an organization called Bataha, an NGO, which is a non-governmental organization. A young local guy started this, and what they basically do is they help people leave off the evacuation train that comes in daily from the east. It helps them transition to the train station, helps them with transitional housing and permanent housing, food, hygiene, and so forth. But they've helped about 800,000 people since the beginning of the war, this organization. And then I also helped with camouflage net making. And all these volunteers were, some were local, some were displaced Ukrainians from the East, and others were for international volunteers. And this is our kitchen in Lviv, where we are peeling a lot of different vegetables, getting ready to dehydrate them, put them in little packages, and send them off to the front line. But these people were very jovial. I didn't know how to speak any Ukrainian except for about 3 words. But they were very, knew each other and were able to communicate. But a very jovial group, and I just enjoyed looking at them laughing and having a good time doing this. And this is their storeroom where they transported everything to the front line in IKEA bags. Those what those blue bags are there. But a lot of, they made a lot of teas, borscht, a lot of different kinds of soups and desserts and so forth. And this is the Lviv train on the left. As I mentioned, it comes in daily with IDPs, internally displaced people. And so we help them. Some were handicapped and disabled and so forth. So we help them navigate the train station, help them with transitional housing, food, hygiene, so forth. And this is, being in the wintertime, we made the lighter colored camouflage on the right. And it's basically, they have these vertical strings, and then we would go up and just tie sort of bows continually with the little ribbons. Little tedious, but that's how it worked.
And the soldiers use that out in the field?
Oh yeah, they put it over their artillery in the winter. This is winter, yeah. So they cover and camouflage their artillery and so forth. Yeah. And this is just a video a coworker sent me of the train, the daily train coming in with the IDPs.
March 21st, the 3:40 p.m. train from Zaporizhia today. We have quite a lot of people that came off the evacuation train. And we also have people coming from Save Ukraine, another NGO, that's helping us get people to where they're going. You can see that it's swelled up back again for IDPs, internally displaced people. March.
And then just recently, this past May, I went to Kyiv for a couple of weeks, and I worked with another NGO, non-governmental organization called the Kyiv Kitchen Hub. And it was started by a married couple, during 2022 at the beginning of the war. And it's sort of grown, but they operate 7 days a week, pretty much 9 to 5. And they're up to making about 25,000 meal portions a month now that they send to the front line. Again, where the soldiers don't have anything, the equipment to cook with, so they just add hot water to these. Again, they're individual packets, could be a breakfast, it could be a dessert, or some kind of a meal. And again, just 1 cup of hot water. And this is our group here in the kitchen that I worked with, mostly locals, local Ukrainians, some displaced Ukrainians, and then international volunteers. I met people from the Ukraine, Germany, mostly. I happened to be there on Vyshyvanka Day. It's a Ukrainian holiday, a national holiday, falls on the 3rd Thursday of May. Everybody wears their embroidered shirts, and it represents different parts of the country. Depending on where you're from, you have a different embroidered shirt. And it's actually grown to a worldwide event. So people from other countries on Vyshyvanka Day are wearing their embroidered shirts, too. And I have mine there. Somebody bought one from me. I still have that. Yeah. This is an example of what we were making. Again, the individual packets of dehydrated food. And also, they were making drones too. They make about 50 a month. And I met a guy from Alaska, a career military guy who was involved with training soldiers on the front line. He said he's never seen anything like it in all his experience, in all the war zones he's been. It's all drones. It's all about drones. And they even hired a kid, who was a master supposedly at Grand Theft Auto. I think that's what the game is. It's a video game. And he's helping them fly the drones. And this is just operating the kitchen. That gentleman in the middle there with the white shirt on the left, I met him. He's from Belgium, and he's a surgeon who alternates every week. He works with us a week, then he goes to the front line, he operates on the wounded. He's been shot at, his friend was killed by a drone, and he's also operated on numerous Red Cross workers too. They don't care who they're shooting, they'll shoot anybody. But he gets about 4 hours of sleep a night. He can only handle it for about a week. And that's the, okay. And this is making the soups right there. There's about 6 of us who sit around a table, and we pass the little bag around and put in different ingredients and spices in, and then seal them up and go on to the next bag. This is the warehouse to the right underneath the kitchen, and a lot of different spices and dehydrated ingredients are kept there. That gentleman with the red apron is from Washington, D.C., a retired lawyer, but he's worked in Russia during his professional career, and he was also involved before he started working with us, with another organization, going into villages on the front line, dropping off food and so forth. This is Independence Square, where they have all their, it has a lot of history with past revolutions and things like that. Most recent, 2014, Revolution of Dignity, where they threw out the Russian guy who was ruling the country. But anyway, all these flags, people leave flags, flowers, pictures of loved ones that have been killed in the war. And again, this is Independence Square in the middle of Kyiv. This is the Romanovsky Bridge, and it's right outside of Kyiv, and it's preserved as a memorial now. During 2022, when the war first started, the Ukrainian military blew this up to slow the Russian advance to Kyiv. It disrupted their supply lines and everything else. And so now they've built another bridge around it, but they've kept this just as a memorial. And Ukrainians from a couple of the nearby towns, Bucha, Irpin, and maybe a couple of others, the suburban towns, they all were able to get it, or they had to cross it by putting boards across, or beams, or whatever they could do to get across. And about 40,000 of them were able to escape and evacuate by doing that. And this is a picture of them back in 2022, evacuating. As I say, there are about 40,000 of them that passed on going across the river on boards and beams and things. This is St. Michael's Square in Kyiv, and it's just burned out Russian military vehicles on display. That person in the middle volunteers for the Vienna Mission for Ukraine. He's a Canadian citizen. He moved full-time to Kyiv to help with the effort. During this past winter, he organized an event where they sent over 6,000 hand warmers, underwear, socks to the frontline military. He just co-founded something called Invest in Bravery, where he's matching people up with Europeans with money who want to invest in Ukrainian startups. So he's very much involved with that. He's also founding another organization to help with veterans with their mental health issues, PTSD, or helping them with their English and so forth, like that. The man to the right, who I met and I may be working with in the future, has just started an ambulance service. He has 3 ambulances. And he goes directly to the front line, picks up the wounded, depending on the injury, will drive them to the hospital. Hospitals could be hours away, depending on the injury. He's also working with, recruited a doctor from Doctors Without Borders, who are going to be training the military in basic first aid, too. I also went to Bucha while I was there, which is about a half-an-hour drive from Kyiv. Back in 2022, it was one of the first villages invaded by the Russians. I met a guy just walking in the street. He said he was a tour guide. I called him a couple of days later. He said he'd take me into Bucha and surrounding towns and talk to me about all the history and everything. This guy had to evacuate from Donetsk. He had to leave everything behind, his family, well, no, his home and so forth, and evacuated. And then he became, he's just moved to Kyiv. In the past, he was a tour operator at Chernobyl, but now, during the war, the military occupies Chernobyl, so he's not doing that. And anyway, this site is a very famous memorial where underneath it there's 117 people, civilians of townspeople of Bucha, that their hands were tied and they were shot at close range by the Russians, and they're buried there. In Bucha, about 458 bodies were recovered, and they think over 1,000 of the townspeople were killed initially. And this is, again, Bucha, just a building that still hasn't been repaired, that was damaged during the occupation. And some locals making the camouflage netting in the middle. And then on the right is my guide that I met in town. Somebody just came up to me in the street and started talking and convinced me to give him a call and showed me around a few of the surrounding towns. But anyway, that's Richard to the right. And the lady on the left runs a little museum there where they have all these artifacts from the invasion, Russian uniforms and wallets, ammunition, stories about what the local townspeople did and how they defended the town and so forth. This is the graveyard, the car graveyard, and these represent cars that were destroyed by the Russian military. There were people evacuating in these cars, the townspeople evacuating, and these were all destroyed by the military as they were trying to escape. This is what one of the streets looked like in Bucha at the beginning of the war back in 2022 on the left, and just a lot of destroyed Russian vehicles. And on the right is what it looked like when I was there in May. Unmarked graves on the left there, they're still trying to find out who those are. In the middle are 3 kids. They were killed as they tried to escape in a car. Their father was driving. The father survived, but the kids were killed. And that's just what the other part of the graveyard looks like on the right. This is a picture of the community center when I was there on the left. They still haven't, this is Irpin, the town of Irpin, which is right next to Bucha. Again, about a 45-minute drive from Kyiv. And this is what the community center looked like when I was there on the left. They still haven't brought it back, but that's what it looked like when it was before the war on the right. About 70% of the town is damaged, but they brought most of it back now. And that just is an apartment building there on the left in Irpin that was destroyed, heavily damaged during the war. And to the right is what it looked like back in May when I was there. These are some townspeople. They're sort of like National Guard. They call them the Territory Defense. Anyway, their hands were bound and they were shot at this location in Irpin by the Russians. And This is the same location. It's sort of a memorial to those 8 individuals. This is a bunker that's preserved in Irpin. It has quite a bit of significance in that it was the first line of defense against the Russians, mostly manned by locals, too, and some National Guard type individuals who had never seen combat before. And these are shells. It's a memorial again, and they call it the Freedom Monument of shells, casings, shell casings that were collected throughout the town as a memorial type. And these are links, if anybody's interested in volunteering, donating, traveling to Ukraine, I've got a whole lot of information, a whole lot of interesting websites. I also met with the Kyiv Independent newspaper while I was there, met with the office manager. It's an online publication that was started in 2022 by 2 journalists who didn't want to work for a biased newspaper, so it's pretty accurate and up-to-date information. And interesting Netflix documentaries. You may be familiar with them. One's called Bucha and the other one is Winter on Fire, and that's pretty much about the revolution of dignity back in 2014. This video, if I can get it to play, a coworker gave it to me, and the guy who gave it to him was the one who filmed it.
Разговаривай со мной! Говори со мной, слышишь? Медики є! Медики! Мене називають голландець. Я вивожу цивільних людей з гарячих точок України. Стріляй! Стріляй! Вот туда б'є, давай! Війну зазвичай помічають пізно. Перший час в неї просто не вірять. Не вірять в можливість загибелі по дорозі до магазину просто посеред рідної вулиці.
Давайте, Сергей Васильевич, поторопимся, чтобы мы здесь не остались с бабушкой.
Але в якийсь момент разом зі снарядом в ганок приходить прийняття. Якщо хочеш вижити, то треба залишати свій дім та тікати. Але тікати вже нема на чому, бо розуміння прийшло тільки що. А війна тут вже давно.
Я тебя не предаю, Сонечка. Я тебя не предаю.
And that is it. Thank you very much.
Bob, I'm sure people have questions, would love to.
Oh, sure,
a
yeah,
little bit.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I think I heard you say you only have 3 words.
Yes, I don't know if I can even remember those.
Don't worry about that, but just,
Yeah.
so I imagine that English is spoken fairly well there?
Some is, yeah.
I have communication with some people there, and some of it is stuff that's pretty chilling, but what I find most amazing, and I want to get your reaction, is how normal their lives become.
They're desensitized
Yeah.
to it, yeah. I was nervous when I went there. I got off you can't fly in, you have to either go by bus or train. But as soon as I got off and into the city, it's just like everybody's walking around just like it's a normal day. But when you start hearing explosions at night and what they have to go through, it sort of hits home and it's very unnerving. So that's...
And their power outages are...
I was there were none. But I was there, the 2 weeks that I was there this past May, it was fairly quiet. When I left, it really intensified after that. But
After Alaska apparently has gotten very, very busy over there. There's a lot of power outages.
yeah, every day I read the Kyiv Independent, and they're very up to date on that. that online publication. But they just say that June or July was the highest amount of attack as far as drone attack and missile attacks in the history since the beginning of the war.
What's the opinion of, how do I want to put this, of Americans considering our off again, on again switch?
Americans over there or Americans here?
Well, they're not Americans, Ukrainians.
Oh, Ukrainians? Yeah, they're frustrated with it. And a lot just believe if there's unity, this war could be over quickly. You know, if we, the U.S., and stop going around in circles and united with the Europeans, it would be over. But they're frustrated at the lack of no consistency and action.
Did you get a sense that they were beginning to think that maybe some territory, giving up some territory might be something that they would consider?
It's a little bit, yeah, a little bit. But a lot of them still are very adamant about it, too. Yeah, but it goes both ways.
There was a period where...
There might be other people.
No,
You can talk with me for non-stop. But let's see if there's one or two other people who have questions.
We can do it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Where did the displaced people go when you said they go to more permanent housing? Where would that be?
A lot went to Poland, different parts of Poland. A lot went to Germany. The Germans, from what I heard, were very, very generous in the quality of the housing they provided. Some went to the UK, too.
But not in other parts of Ukraine generally?
The IDPs, the internally displaced people, well, they were more in transitional housing that I came across, living in transitional housing, or more permanent. They acquired more permanent apartment accommodation and so forth.
Sure. I have a question. How are they doing the family structure? How are they able to keep the children and the parents together? How are they educating them?
Well, there's about 20,000 children, just to begin with, who have been abducted, coerced, deported to Russia or Russian occupied territory or Belarus. I've heard of kids by Russians trying to pull away from their parents, saying it's not safe for the kids, we got to bring them to these vacation camps or things like that.
Yeah, so are they able to keep, when you get these people coming to you to get,
Yeah, they bring their kids, yep, for the most part.
right, and the ones that can stay with them, they keep them all together?
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a thing you're doing.
Did the internally displaced people, were there a lot of injuries or people with a lot of like disabilities from
Yes.
having been in the
Yeah,
conflict?
yeah, there are some, absolutely, yeah, and people in wheelchairs in different conditions that we have to work with, yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
sure lots of other people have questions, would love to talk with Bob. I know I have questions and would love to talk with you. In the interest of our meeting, I'm going to suggest that we shift, kind of do our business, and then my guess is you're happy to hang around and
sure.
talk to people.
Yeah.
Yes, so there'll be an opportunity for those of you who want to talk more with Bob and ask questions. Bob, thank you so much.
Thank you for the,
I think we all think we know what it's like, but hearing some of what you said just, woo, it's very powerful. And thank you.
I could go on, but I don't want to take up your time.
I'm sure you could. I know you have a benefit coming, I do want
Yes,
to let you speak
I'm,
about.
I don't want to know if you want me to go into that now or after.
No, you should go ahead and just tell people the details
Okay.
about the benefit.
Yeah, well, Mary Jo Riley, who's the director here, apparently and hopefully is going to offer us this room in June, where myself and Lou Manzi, he's with a band called the Howling Hound Dogs, but he has a lot of contacts with local bands, which we hope to bring in, and in conjunction with that, maybe do an auction or a raffle to raise money for Ukraine. I'm in touch with an organization in New Haven, Ukrainian American Humanitarian Fund, aid fund, something like that. But they do a lot. They've sent over 14 tractor trailers from here. They get them shipped over by boat. These trailers, they're like 40 feet long by 8 feet high, filled with medical equipment and so forth, to Poland. And then they have this person and his group that picks them up. But anyway, we may be partnering with them, and that's where the money would go. But anyway, that's
You
hopefully.
said in June, is there a date and time yet?
No, I have to work with Mary.
So you
Mary
let
Jo.
us know, I'll
Yes,
certainly
oh,
spread it out
absolutely.
to our group and
Yeah.
let our group know.
Yeah, and we hope to get your group, your ukulele individuals. Apartment too.
We'd be thrilled to
Yeah.
play. Playing with the Howling Hound Dogs was a lot of fun that
Okay.
time.